Hello, my dear friends. I hope you all are safe at your home. Anyways, we will be starting our lecture number 5, which is sequences and series. Again, means it is the series which have followed and it will be followed. So, we have covered many topics, although, but now we will be discussing more topics and in much detail. Okay. So, first one is that we will be going to discuss is sandwich lemma. So, what is that lemma basically? So, for that, we consider some sequences. So, first one is do you know sequences, right? Is xn, yn, and zn. These are three sequences, and you are given that this thing xn converges to some alpha in your real number, yn converges to some alpha, and this zn lies between xn and yn for all natural numbers, say n. Okay, and then you are saying that your Zn is also converging to alpha. So what does it mean? It basically tells you that if you take any two sequences, here it is xn and yn, and if you take another sequence, say zn, and you club it between the two sequences, and if both the sequences xn and yn converges to the limit, same limit alpha, then the middle one is Zn, which is also converging to the same limit. So for that, it's a very easy proof. Although I should focus on the statements, but you know that being able to do the proofs and obvious proofs may be asked during your interviews. So I will be preparing you for the proofs also. So let's discuss that. Okay. So for that, we see a graph, right? This one. You can see this picture. What does it tell you? So it tells you that basically your xn is converging to alpha, right? So for means by the definition of convergence, you know, for every epsilon greater than 0, you are able to get some natural number such that xn minus alpha mod is less than epsilon, right? What does it mean, xn minus alpha mod less than epsilon? We have discussed that it means that xn belongs to alpha minus epsilon and alpha plus epsilon, this interval, right? So here we are discussing this, that after certain terms, xn lies in this interval alpha minus epsilon and alpha plus epsilon. If we see this, this will look like alpha minus epsilon, alpha plus epsilon. Means our xn are coming in this interval after finitely many natural number, means for all n greater than equal to say some 5, 6, any n naught it can be. And similarly, you can say that yn is also converging to alpha. So yn is also coming in this interval, alpha minus epsilon and alpha plus epsilon for all n greater than equal to some natural number. You can say it is n naught, right? So, okay, it's fine. Then you are saying that you can take the, here it is given that what I have said, you can take the n to be the maximum of n1, n2. Then you will see that what will happen if we take n to be the maximum of n1 and n2. Their first one is n1, means after n1 term xk lies in this interval. After n2 terms your yn lies in this interval. So if we take the maximum of both of them, then if we are saying it is capital N, then we will say that after n terms it lies in there, right? After n terms, what is happening? It lies in there. Means xk is less, xk and yk both lies in this interval after maximum of n1 and 2 terms. And you know that your zk, here it is denoting Zn. You know this inequality, zk is less than equal to zk is less than equal to yk, and hence it zk lies in this interval. But what does it mean? Means after n terms, maximum of n1 and 2, say capital N, your zk start to lying in this interval, alpha minus epsilon, alpha plus epsilon. Then what do you say? That your zk is converging to alpha. That we have proved. Fine. Okay, so it is very beautiful lemma, right? And we will be discussing more examples, more exercises also. So let's discuss them. Okay, so we have some beautiful uses of sandwich lemma that we were discussing. It's very important role it plays in everything, means in your jam, nat, gate, any examination, GRE, right? It is playing a very important role, and it is a basic rule. So for first one, if you see first one, then you try to see that you can choose any member, means you know that for any a and r you can consider this interval a minus 1 by n, a plus 1 by n. And definitely if you take your n to be 1, suppose, then you can choose some x1 from a minus 1, a plus 1 interval similarly, because it is an interval. And then if you take n to be 2, then definitely you are going to be choosing some, say, x2 in that interval, a minus 1 by 2 comma a plus 1 by 2. Then clearly what happens is that your xn, what means the terms you collect like x1, x2, x3 up to xn, then this sequence, you say just it is a sequence, right? And then you try to club it with this interval, means your xn is always greater than a minus 1 by n and a plus 1 by n. It is always less than a plus 1 by n. And by sandwich lemma you can say that your xn is converging to a. This is basic fact. So if someone asks you if xn lies between a minus 1 by n, a plus 1 by n, then which lemma follows to say xn converges to a? You just say it is sandwich lemma. Right. For second one, you can see that sin n by n converges to 0. It is obvious fact, but we can see from sandwich lemma, obviously. So it is basically follows from the boundedness of sine function, which is bounded by 1 and lower bound is minus 1. So sin n by n is less than equal to 1 by n, okay, because sin n is less than equal to 1 and it is greater than equal to minus 1 by n, right? And by sandwich lemma we can prove this, that limit of sin by n by n is 0, means sin n by n is convergent. And hence why it follows, because 1 by n is converging to 0 by obvious definition using what you call Archimedean property. You can prove that, and using sandwich lemma you are trying to prove this. It's fine, right? Next is very important result, that for any real number x for any real number x, you see, then you are able to find sequences xn of real numbers which converges to your x you are taking, right? It's a very important result and very good result also. So for you take any real number x, you will definitely find a sequence, right, which converges to x. So why is that? Because that similarly by the first one, you can consider interval x minus 1 by n and x, right? You change the value of n. Suppose n is 1, you are picking some element from this interval x minus 1 comma x, say x minus 1 comma x. I just write it here, it's not valid, right? In this interval you are picking some value, say x1. In this interval you are picking some value, say x1, and then you are doing for n equal to x minus 1 by 2 comma x, and similarly for n equal 3 you are picking some value in that interval, and hence xn lies between x minus 1 by n and x, and so your xn converges to x again by sandwich lemma. Left right side you can check. What about fourth one? Fourth one is also interesting, right? For any real number x, you can always find sequence of rational numbers and irrational numbers such that Sn goes to S and Tn goes to X. So what does it say is that if you take any real number x, then you will always definitely get a sequence of rational numbers which converges to that x, and a sequence of irrational numbers which converges to that x, okay? So why does it follows? Because we know by density theorem, if we consider this interval x minus 1 by n and x, open interval, if you consider this x minus 1 by n comma x, in this interval you try to pick up the elements 1 for n equal 1, you try to check these cases for n equal 1, 1 by 2, like that. and you try to pick up these elements from that. Say x, you are picking x1 xn, you are picking this element, then you are taking a rational number, right? Because for any two real numbers, between two real numbers there exists a rational number, and then you are saying it's just a sequence of rationals, right? Similarly for irrationals, because between two real numbers again there exists an irrational number, right? So definitely by squeeze theorem, you also say sandwich lemma is a squeeze theorem in some books. So by sandwich lemma, you are saying that you are able to find a sequence of rational numbers which converges to your x, right? For fifth one, what is the idea? You take alpha to be any least upper bound of R. Although I have not discussed, but you should be familiar with the notion of least upper bound. What does it mean? It is the least, means it is the smallest of all the upper bounds of a set, right? And what we mean by upper bound, basically upper bound is that element where every element of set is less than equal to that one, and you are collecting the smallest of them. So if obviously if you take a least upper bound, then you definitely get a sequence of sequence in a set which converges to this alpha, right? An, here it is an, what does it here an, right? An you are getting which converges to alpha, right? And if you consider means greatest lower bound also, then you will get a sequence similarly. It's vice versa. It means it is somehow 40-40, somehow 40-40, somehow same. Okay. So for how do we prove that? You know that alpha minus 1 by n is not an upper bound of A, because alpha is least upper bound. So how alpha minus 1 by n is not an upper bound? Definitely. And alpha minus 1 by n, I just write here. So alpha minus 1 by n is not a upper bound, right? So you will find some element of A, say an, in every interval, right? In an, right? Which is greater than alpha minus 1 by n. And definitely it is less than equal to alpha. So you know, by sandwich lemma again you can say that your an converges to alpha in that case. I hope these all 5 points are clear to you. So definitely you can comment if you feel problem in them. Okay, fine. So let's move some exercises to of sandwich lemma. I just tell you to the homework. I just give to your means leave it to you that you will try them. Although the third property I will discuss it in a special way. Okay, and for second you just rationalize it. First one, you try to use the sandwich lemma to prove them, although they are familiar by the definition. And fourth one also you can do by sandwich lemma. Just use the sandwich lemma. If you feel problems, then just ask me using chat box. That is fine for me. Okay, so let's move on to new result. I will discuss two more important results which are very useful in your any examination basically, and they will be asked some proofs also, and they are used in MCQs many a times they have used. So what does it mean for the first one, which says that if your xn converges to some zero element, then if you consider arithmetic mean of your sequence xn, that arithmetic mean also converges to 0, right? Because you collect, suppose s1 is what? S1 is x1, s2 is x1 plus x2 by 2, means the what is Sn? Sn you are defining like this. Sn is basically the sum of average of the n terms of the sequence, first n terms of the sequence, right? Then you are taking this Sn which converges to 0. How do we prove that? So for that you need to estimate mod Sn, right? For that you need to estimate that. So you are writing your Sn in this way. That is very good way. You try to break up your because Sn is just the average of n terms. You break up till capital N, say in between 1 and n. Okay, capital N is between 1 and small n. then you break up it between, and then we discuss something. Okay, let's see. Okay, fine. So okay, we looked at this system. But since we know our xn is convergent, so you will have a bound for xn. For means you will get some natural number m, digit xn is less than equal to m for all n, any m in R. Okay, natural number you can use. But we look at tightest one always. Sometimes we look at normal one up to down. So what we now we estimate as mod Sn. So what is your mod Sn? Basically, let's look at back then. Mod Sn is this one, right? This one. These two terms are there. So for first one, you try to estimate this. So you can take by triangle inequality, every term is less than equal to m. Mod of every term is less than equal to m. Then you club them all. Then what you will get? This term, n minus 1 by m. And similarly for second one, you take the mod of let's see, you take the mod of each of the terms of this term less than epsilon, right? And you club them all again, because you know xn converges to 0. So you know xn is less than epsilon for all n greater than equal to n naught. This is going to be the main thing here. So you just put that means the modulus of every term less than equal to sum less than epsilon, right? So we now discuss a formal proof for it. So for that, what we take, again I have, that is the main thing, and that's done basically. So you try to break up your sequence into this way, and then you try to write down like the previous case. But main thing is that you are taking means this second part which is coming, it is coming for n greater than equal to n1. And for this part, you can choose n greater than equal to n2, because 1 by n also converges to 0 to make less than epsilon. And then you merge them both and take the maximum of that is here, right? And then you take this epsilon. Basically here it is epsilon by 2. You can take, so to merge them both you will get an epsilon. It's very easy proof you can do, but the idea I have provided to you. You have to use the convergence of 1 by n, xn, right, and triangle inequality, and all the proof is done, right? Fine. Now we have a very important result also, another one, which says that xn converges to x, yn converges to y, then this thing happens, right? This thing all happen. Okay, so for that what we do, we try to write un is this term and Sn as this summation of xk. And what you do, you add this thing x1 plus x2 plus xn y in un and subtract also this. Then what you will get, this thing. And vn, you are saying this is vn, right? And then what you are doing, you are taking modulus of vn which is less than equal to this one. Why it is that? Because you know mod of x1 is less than equal to m. xn, because they are bounded, xn's are bounded, xn is convergent, so xn is bounded. This is coming from here. Take mod and apply triangle inequality, and you know yn converges to y, yn minus y goes to 0. Then you can apply the previous result which says vn by n converges to 0, because it's just a arithmetic mean of convergent sequences that is going to be coming into the picture, right? And why it follows, because yes, you can already apply the result, right? So that's a very beautiful theorem, and it's very important also. Every time you see, it's always important. Why? And you can see that now, that this thing, one thing left, that you consider un by n. Then un by n is equal to Sn y by n plus vn by n, and which converges to 0 definitely. Why? Because Sn by n converges to 0. You know that you are using this fact, xn converges to x, then right, it converges to, sorry, xy, and it converges, this next term is converging to 0, so xy plus 0, and hence xy. So you are using this fact basically, that I just recall that we are using the fact that if you take here not 0 as any x, then you can replace here 0 by x. You can easily prove that, right? So that's I leave it to you. Otherwise, it's very easy. You can take xn converges to x, then Sn also converges to s in place of if you take 0 also. That will be fine. Okay. So that we have discussed. So these are very important proofs that we have discussed today, and sandwich lemma, some properties, glimpse of that. So thank you very much for today. I hope you have enjoyed the session. So we will meet soon as possible. I will be updating you. So don't forget to like the channel, like the videos you see, and don't forget to subscribe also. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.